Welcome to the show, everybody. Mark Farzetta here, the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. No PJ today, folks. PJ electrical problem, me producing show. Oh boy, hold on to your butts. It's going to be most likely a bumpy ride. But we got a lot to get into today. My friend Hollis Thomas joins the show to break down Super Bowl 57. What went on with the Eagles? He gives his take on what went down in that second half. We had Quentin Michael on yesterday's show breaking it down for us, and today we have Hollis Thomas. You know what Hollis Thomas doesn't want to hear? He doesn't want to hear anything about that field. Both teams got to play on that field. He didn't care. Well, I said, you're a defensive lineman. If you're depending on a defensive lineman to get a little bit there of the push, did I say a little bit? All of the push, because you know your defensive coordinator at the time isn't going to blitz. Don't you need that? Don't you need that field maybe more so than the other guys? No, the hell with that. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. We talked to Hollis about that. Talked to Hollis about that Bradbury holding penalty. Hollis makes the best point I've heard about that penalty. Makes the best point I have heard about that penalty, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. Also, he tells a wild story about the night of the NFC Championship game, what he experienced in Philadelphia, what he saw in Philadelphia that night. He didn't really talk too much about where he watched the game, but he kind of hinted where he watched the game. So we'll talk to Hollis about that as well. Sixers conversation. They get a nice win over the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. They held on. They were up 28 points. And then there's about 90 seconds left in the game, 91 seconds to be exact. And the Sixers were only magically up 4 points all of a sudden, from 28 points to 4 points. They were dominant for the first half, especially the first quarter. They were dominant. They were draining threes left and right. You had Tobias Harris open things up with a 3-point shot from the corner and just knocked it down. I think he had 2 threes in the first quarter. James Harden was hitting from the outside. D'Anthony Melton was hitting from the outside. You had Joel Embiid going into the paint to become the fastest Sixer ever to 10,000 points, beating Allen Iverson by 5 games. That's amazing. So you had all that going for you last night. And then as Doc Rivers put it after the game, this, of course, was their last game before the All-Star break. He said the All-Star break started early, and it certainly seemed like it did in last night's second half. But the Sixers held on to win. One of the other things that Doc Rivers got into after the game was how they had found a way to win really through the vast majority of their games this season, which is always nice. I mean, some they've dominated. Others, like that game against the Nets that they had no business even trailing in, they found a way to win that game. So, okay. This was almost a game where you found a way to lose, according to Doc Rivers after that game. But yeah, the All-Star break looked like it started early. But we'll get into the ins and outs of last night's game, as well as Doc Rivers' message to the team. And I feel it's necessary, before we go headfirst into the game, before we go headfirst into Hollis Thomas telling about the Super Bowl, and then what he thinks is going to happen in the future here with the Eagles over this offseason, who stays, who goes, who's going to be your defensive coordinator. Here's my gut feeling on the Sixers right now. And I wish I was more optimistic. I wish, coming off a Phillies World Series appearance and an Eagles Super Bowl appearance, and I know we're talking about the Union in this city, which is nice. They're coming off, unfortunately, a championship loss as well. But with all our teams having at least the amount of success to get to the biggest stage in their sports, you would want to be a little bit more optimistic that, hey, look, our teams can push through. Our teams can at least make a championship. We should be riding a nice wave of optimism. Not for me and the Sixers. And what really sucks is I really do love Joel Embiid. And I've said many times on this show that we should just be grateful. When times get tough in Philadelphia, we get to watch Joel Embiid play basketball. And that's such a joy. I love Joel Embiid. I love James Harden. I love watching James Harden. Love Tyrese Maxey. Wish he wasn't coming off the bench, but wish he was in the starting 5. Doc Rivers is what he likes. Likes D'Anthony Melton going out there. And also, as he said last night, guarding the best that the other team has to offer. They ask a lot of him every single night. But I do love this team. I don't love this team under Doc Rivers. And that's what it comes down to. I look at Doc, and I like Doc. I respect the hell out of Doc Rivers. I think I like Doc Rivers more than the vast majority of the Philadelphia Sixers fan. I guess I have a tendency to really like head coaches in basketball because I kind of feel bad for them in a way because, the players are really running things more so than anything. And the coach has to be there, not just for moral support. I mean, he does more than that. I mean, he's got to set up, he's got to make the adjustments or not make the adjustments like Blake Griffin pointed out last week in the loss against the Celtics when they were missing by the second half, 4 key guys in their lineup. But I just don't have confidence in the 76ers under Doc Rivers. And if I don't have confidence, and I don't think a lot of people have confidence, like if you're talking about playing at the level of the Celtics or playing at the level of the Bucks, you're talking about making it to an Eastern Conference final. I know there's a chance. I acknowledge there's a chance. This is a good basketball team. But if you're asking me if I'm confident that they're going to make it to a conference finals, oh, no. If you're asking me if I'm more confident that they're going to make it to a second round and get bounced out of the second round as well, I understand you got to see how things fall into place. What's your confidence level right now in the 76ers making out of the second round at the All-Star break right now? As we sit here at the All-Star break of the NBA, what is your confidence level that the Sixers would make it out of the second round? Mine's not very high. And the reason it's not very high is because you see them struggle against a team like the Nets that literally just had a fire sale of players. And they struggled to win that game. They lose against the New York Knicks. They face a team like the Celtics that I just mentioned, and they can't come up with a win in that game when the Celtics are far from their best. Nah, not feeling it. I feel like they're going to be a contending team. They're going to be a team that, when I say contending team, they're going to fight for a number 1 seed. And we found that out 2 years ago. That didn't matter. But they're going to be a team that's going to be up there 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 in the Eastern Conference. And then I feel like we're going to get disappointed again in the second round. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that by the time it's playoff time, we look at this Sixers team and we go, all right, you know what? They're really playing some great basketball right now. They're hitting their stride at the perfect time. Maybe they'll be the team that's just playing hot at the right time, getting hot at the right time, and they'll roll through the playoffs and roll through the first round, roll through the second round, and get into the Eastern Conference Finals. I want that to be the story. Hell, I want the story to be they win a championship. Because there's players on this team that I just absolutely love their game. But I just don't have a lot of confidence that under Doc Rivers, he inspires this team to play their best. Now, is it Doc Rivers' fault if you have a lot of turnovers? Is it Doc Rivers' fault if you're not hitting your threes like you came out hitting your threes with last night? And that's a good Cavaliers team that came to play last night. Sixers came out just on fire. I mean, you hear about all the time you couldn't throw the ball in the ocean on off nights. Man, they can thread the needle every shot they put up, it seemed like, especially in that first half last night. Is that all Doc Rivers? No. It's amazing how you hit shots and your coach looks a lot better. But I understand that Doc Rivers isn't the guy that's hitting the shots or getting the rebounds or protecting the basketball. I understand that. But just like we see in many other sports, the best case example of that right now is what we saw in the Phillies when it went from Joe Girardi to Rob Thompson. But you're responsible as a coach for the overall atmosphere of your team. And you're responsible for getting the best out of your players. And I don't feel like this Sixers team has 100% bought into what Doc Rivers is selling this year. And like I said, I know a lot of people jump to the idea that when Blake Griffin said his criticism last week, he was saying it about his time with Doc Rivers in Los Angeles with the Clippers. And yeah, you're right. I 1,000% agree with that. But I don't think that was all of it. I think we all know that these players talk to one another. I think we all know that it's not just coming from Blake Griffin and his own experiences. I think he talks to Joel Embiid. I think he talks to James Harden. I think he talks to the vast majority of the guys on the Sixers team, and they kind of tell him how they're feeling. And he probably identifies with that. And you know what else? You know why else they talk to him? Not just because he's a basketball player as well, but because they know he also played for the same guy. You ever talk to somebody who had the same boss as you at different points? Oh, man, I got to do it. Oh, he does that still, or she does that still. Oh, boy. People, yeah, these guys talk. They're colleagues, not just opponents. Let's not forget that. So that's where my mind drifted when I first heard the comments. And I thought, you know what, that's just going to continue to hit my confidence level and how great this team can be. And as of right now, if you're asking me to make a bet where the Sixers season is going to end, I think it's going to end in that second round again. Now, hopefully they get good breaks. That'd be awesome. Hopefully things fall in the right place. They can come up with an easy first round win, and they can roll to the second round and face an opponent they like. Maybe they see the Cavs again. Maybe they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But overall confidence, I would rather not be in a place where I have to worry about their seeding and more so just be worried about how well this team is playing. And the fact that everyone else has to worry about playing the Sixers. And maybe over the next, 2 months, we'll get to that point. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Sixers did have a nice win. They did hold on for the win. That's all great. Joel Embiid had a great night. James Harden, 19 points in the game last night. Tyrese Maxey again came off the bench, had 16 last night for the Sixers. His floater late in that fourth quarter really helped the Sixers. I won't say go out there and squash any momentum the Cavs had because they kept on bringing it, but it certainly helped the Sixers reestablish themselves a little bit, at least enough in that fourth quarter to hold on to get that victory. But other than that, and hitting their shots, one of the things I loved about last night's game was the ball movement in last night's game. That ball was swinging around the perimeter throughout the game. They were quick with those passes. They were crisp with those passes. They were smart with those passes. I love seeing good ball movement like that. And whatever they were doing last night, that's something I'd love for them to carry through the All-Star break and come out next week ready to play with that same type of mindset and that same type of awareness. That court vision was great throughout the game last night. I think that's one of the reasons they were able to get such wide open shots and be able to knock them down at the rate that they were last night, especially in that first half. So Sixers headed into the All-Star break. We'll all enjoy the All-Star festivities as per usual. As for the message from Doc Rivers to the Sixers going into the break, here's what he had to say to his team after last night's win. This is the message to the team.
Yeah, no message. You know, we know what we want to do. They don't need a message. They need to just – some of them need to ramp down. Some of them probably need to keep working, you know. But just get your rest, be healthy, be safe, you know. Don't call me was my message.
I think he might be alluding to Tyrese Maxey for calling him, who called him I think it was the All-Star break he called him last year. And then I think it was right at a week later after the season ended. Like, don't call me. Get away from basketball for a second, man. Take a break. Tyrese Maxey, I remember the story. He had never been on vacation before. He finally went on vacation last year. Good for him. I hope he rests up. I hope he keeps, speaking of mindset with these guys, Tyrese Maxey is the guy that needed a mindset change, apparently, more so than anybody. Was dealing with some personal things in his life, talked to the family, got his head right, felt better, got his mental right, stepped back onto the court and started playing great basketball again. I think part of that hit was the fact that he had to go back to coming off the bench. And that can be a big hit, especially when all the offseason chatter going into the regular season was the fact that Daryl Morey went out there and got DeAnthony Melton to be that bench piece. Oh, the Sixers need a stronger bench. Well, you got one of the best bench guys in the league in DeAnthony Melton. Great. A couple of months later, Tyrese Maxey's on the bench, and DeAnthony Melton is in the starting lineup again. That can't be a great nudge to the confidence. That can't be a confidence booster for anybody. A lot of other things I'm sure he's dealing with as well. But I would love to see him back in that starting five and see how he fares in that. I know they like the defensive matchups that DeAnthony Melton provides, but I thought that's more so why you got PJ Tucker. So we're all trying to figure it out, I guess, as Doc Rivers is as well. So I look forward to seeing how the Sixers take care of business as far as the rest of this goes. Couple of names for you to keep an eye on. We mentioned them. Mentioned some of these names already on the show, but this is for the defensive and offensive coordinator positions of the Philadelphia Eagles. Some drama surrounding Jonathan Gannon out there. Not necessarily the Cardinals' first choice, but nonetheless, they decided to hire him. So he has been hired, as we know. I think his press conference is today, if I'm not mistaken. So here's some guys that could replace him. The number one name that's out there right now, and I know a lot of people have talked about this. We talked about this with Quentin Michael yesterday. We'll talk about it with Hollis Thomas. Lovie Smith is a name that's out there right now. That is a man that is, without question, a very well-established defensive mind in the NFL. A guy that has a lot of experience as a head coach and a guy that Nick Sirianni would not have to worry about. And he's a guy that if Howie Roseman's going out there and he's making sure that they're holding on to great defensive assets, like a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, if somehow they're finding a way to hold on to James Bradbury as well, If they're grooming Jordan Davis to continue to get better and really take over for the reps of Fletcher Cox, because I do not think Fletcher Cox is going to be back next year, then he's going to go out there with Lovie Smith, and he is going to stack that defense continuously, hold on to what they have, bring in more talent, and Lovie Smith is going to know exactly what to do with them. Exactly what to do with them. I have a lot of confidence if Lovie Smith is running your defense. A lot of confidence. When it comes to some in-house names right now, I know some of the guys are looking at Tracy Rocker. He's been the defensive line coach. Another name that keeps coming up, as most would expect, is Denard Wilson, the defensive backs coach. So you had a 70-sack season with 10 defensive linemen, with 4 defensive linemen with 10 or more sacks. That's pretty good. Do you reward your defensive line coach in Tracy Rocker and say, hey, you know what? You're the best defensive line in football. You got after the quarterback with the defensive coordinator, by the way, that did not dial up blitzes, did not give you a lot of help, and simply said, hey, you know what's funny? Tracy Rocker's doing a great job. I'm just going to ride his coattails. I'm just going to let his defensive line dominate, and I'm just going to have my guys in coverage play off the ball, soft zone, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going to get 70 sacks out of this. Most of which, again, by that defensive line. So you reward the defensive line coach and say, hey, job well done. Now you're going to be running the whole shebang. Or do you go from a number 1 defensive line to then a number 1 secondary? Number 1 against the pass was Denard Wilson's group as a defensive backs coach and defensive passing game coordinator, Denard Wilson. Do you then reward him with the idea of coming out here and being a guy that is going to be running your defense after doing a great job with the secondary? My gut tells me they're not going to promote from within. I know that's a common thing. I know that might be the easy way out as far as budget goes. But I think Howie Roseman and I think Jeffrey Lurie also, I think they're not going to shy away from spending money on a defensive coordinator. And that's what makes me think that you actually do have a shot at Lovie Smith. I do think that they have a shot at somebody who's also outside the box in Jared Mayo, who I know has turned a lot of heads in New England as a linebackers coach and has been on a short list a couple of different times now as a defensive coordinator. And he's going to be a guy that could come in here and maybe give you a little bit about the Bill Belichick way of doing things that so many teams seem to be drawn to. But that's just another name that's out there. If I had to guess, I think the Eagles are going to make a play for Lovie Smith. And I think they're going to see how that works out here. And I think Howie Roseman will do his due diligence to make sure that Lovie Smith, just like Jonathan Gannon, had a lot of talent on that side of the football field to help himself. The other names that are out here are the offensive coordinator positions. Now, this is really interesting to me because, and I'm not jinxing anything. I don't believe in jinxes. I'm done with jinxes. I'm like our head coach, Nick Sirianni. I don't believe in it. Doesn't have control of the game. But everything went to hell with Carson Wentz once he didn't have his proper guys honing his craft or keeping his attention. Yes, I'm scarred. I will admit I am scarred by the Carson Wentz experience. I didn't have a lot of confidence in Carson Wentz. I didn't want the Eagles to draft Carson Wentz. The Eagles drafted Carson Wentz, and I went, oh, wow, this guy, he's a field general. He's playing like a 10-year vet. This guy's the real deal. Oh, good for him. And then like 3 years later, like, I don't really know about this guy. Then he gets injured again on another playoff run. Nick Foles comes in again. You know, the whole thing. We all know how that story ended. But a lot of things started hitting the fan when you had his quarterbacks coach, John DeFilippo. He went elsewhere to be an offensive coordinator. Things started to go to hell with him. Press Taylor ends up getting elevated, his buddy. And now Press Taylor's the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville under Doug Peterson. But once the coaching staff started experiencing changes, it was like, okay, who was the guy that was really responsible for Carson Wentz's early success? Was it Frank Reich, who went out there to be a head coach after the Super Bowl in Indianapolis? Was it John DeFilippo? Who was it? Was it Press Taylor? Maybe Press Taylor's a whiz kid. Maybe this holdover from the Chip Kelly era really knows what the hell he's doing. Yeah, a lot of that's all possible. But the bottom line is when things started to change around him, things started to change Carson Wentz. The saving grace in all this is that Jalen Hurts is not Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts, from what I have seen so far, Jalen Hurts, we've talked about all the time. We talk about how he had to deal with the rumors of Russell Wilson. He had to deal with the rumors of Aaron Rodgers. He had to deal with 3 first-round draft picks in this past draft. And he rose above it all. And he said the entire time, I'm above it all. I'm going to control what I can control. I don't know what Carson Wentz would have done go in the fetal position and hide in the corner, maybe. When it comes to what you see here from Jalen Hurts, he's not that guy. He's the guy that challenge straight ahead, runs through the wall, runs through the challenge, and excels. Whether he uses it as motivation, I don't care. The fact is he rises above it. He says exactly what he says he's going to do. So I don't think you're headed for that. But I think there is potential that the Eagles could mess this up. Brian Johnson is going to get the job. I think you have a guy that you can trust. He's got limited offensive coordinator position experience as far as calling plays when he was in Florida. Limited experience in doing so, but he's done it. I think it was 2 seasons. So, and he's got that long-term relationship with Jalen Hurts. He's known Jalen Hurts since he was 4 years old. Brian Johnson played, in case you don't know this, Brian Johnson played for Jalen Hurts' father in high school, so there's a long-term relationship there. They know each other very, very well, and I don't think it's just any accident they brought him in to be a quarterback's coach, and you've seen Jalen Hurts take off in the way that he has. Brian Johnson has the ear of Jalen Hurts. And I don't think Jalen Hurts needs as much of a kick in the ass as some other young quarterbacks might need to stay focused and make sure they're keeping their eye on the prize. I think Jalen Hurts does a great job, to use his words. Jalen Hurts does a fantastic job of keeping the main thing the main thing. I think Brian Johnson is a great thing to have along for that ride, and a great guy to have along to keep Jalen Hurts focused with his eyes on that prize. The other name that's out there, of course, is Kevin Patullo, who is the offensive passing game coordinator. Love these titles in the NFL nowadays. He has gotten a lot of interest as well. He's been rumored for head coaching positions around the league. Brian Johnson's another guy, as I already mentioned him. He's another guy that has gotten head coaching or offensive coordinator position interest around the league, I should say. So that's something that's keeping in mind. It's not just the Eagles looking at them for these positions. It's the league as well. So those are 2 names that are the obvious in-house names. And I think when it comes to an offensive coordinator, that's a position where I do think they go in-house. Defense coordinator, I think they go out of the house. Offense coordinator, I think they stay within the NovaCare complex. We'll get Hollis Thomas's take on that in just a second. I also want to say the Phillies are in Clearwater, Florida. Trey Turner at shortstop. Bryson Stott moved over to second base. Alec Boehm supposedly putting on 15, 16 pounds of muscle, bulk. I am so amped up, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to set a scene for you, because here's where I am in my life, okay? The house we just moved into has a pool. All right, I love the water. I've always loved swimming. My first paycheck job, I was a swimming teacher. But I just want to set the scene, okay, at Casa de Farzetta, all right? I'm floating around in my pool, and I've recently discovered how hard it is to own a pool. For anyone that owns a pool, not just people on the podcast, but for everyone, please send me free advice. But I'm floating around after scrubbing the pool, after skimming the pool, after whatever it might be. And kids are maybe at a friend's house. Maybe Leo is sleeping, right? And I'm just floating around. I'm smoking a cigar. I have a nice bourbon or something, right? I'm just floating around on my April, what was it? Well, I think you suggested the pizza floaty. And I'm just floating around on the pizza, the decisive inflatable pizza. And I have the Phillies game on. And Scott Fransky is making the calls on the radio. And I'm just listening to Trey Turner work a leadoff walk. Oh, yeah, it gets exciting. Kyle Schwarber steps up next, belts a 2-run home run. Take a puff of my cigar, take a sip of my bourbon, and I just float around. And yesterday, that thought entered my mind when I saw pitchers and catchers at Clearwater getting the early workouts in. And to me, I just can't wait for that moment. A nice, hot summer day and listening to the Phillies on the radio and listening to the crack of the bat yet again. And this team rake. Taijuan Walker rounding out your starting rotation. Andrew Painter coming up, dazzling as a young man. Oh, can't wait for it. And it starts with guys reporting. And you know what's so crazy about this time is that this is the time that always gets referenced late in the season when the team's doing really well. All right, and I think this Phillies team is going to do really well this year. And I think they're going to give us another thrilling season. I think they're going to give us another playoff run, the whole thing. But this is the time that gets referenced. Like, when we showed up spring training, we just felt like something special was going on. As they're getting the champagne out of their eyes, taking their goggles up for a second, right? This time was going to be special. And I look at this roster and I look in the bullpen as well. And you see guys in this Phillies bullpen. Matt Strahm is a guy that I think is going to go under the radar. And I think he's going to be a guy that a lot of people who maybe breeze through spring training, they're going to see on the bump coming out of the bullpen during the regular season. Like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, that guy. Yeah, I remember that guy. Craig Kimbrell coming out of the bullpen. Oh, I guess, are we going to mock him? No, because he's on our side now? Okay, fine. There's going to be things that go on throughout this season that I think are going to make you feel great. And there will be little reminders that Dave Dombrowski is up there making things happen. And to see them in the lineup or to see them on the field, at least going through warmups, oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Let me tell you about my man, Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. Folks, do what I do. When it comes to the other corner of 8th and Walnut, go to Steven Singer Jewelers. The man provides the perfect price each and every day online at stevensinger.com. Now, what's the perfect price? Well, other jewelers are marking things way up. Steven keeps them at the perfect price every day, just to let you know that you don't have to have any worry about haggling, any pressure of haggling, nothing like that. You sit down, relax, you worry about what beautiful piece of diamond jewelry you want to buy. Because while other jewelers are marking things way up, Steven Singer's keeping them at that perfect price each and every day. It's the perfect price guarantee at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price. Online at stevensinger.com. Without further ado, let's jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Oh, boy. I don't know what I'm doing. PJ's off today and tomorrow, probably. Here is, oh, boy. Wish me luck. My friend Hollis Thomas on All Things Eagles, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the man joins the call and you just really know you're about to really enjoy the next 10, 15, 20, 40 minutes of your life, whatever it might be. The great Hollis Thomas. And Hollis, let me just get all your proper billings in here, okay? Former Eagles defensive tackle. All right.
Correct.
Fourth and John podcast. 98.7 The Coast in Wildwood.
Yes.
And you do a specific show for them. What is that called?
It's called Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview.
And just the coolest man you could ever come across, Mr. Hollis Thomas. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How you feeling? I know the last time we saw each other, you had a nice chunk taken out of the back of your head due to you moving and not respecting the razor.
I did not respect the new razor, new razor.
Did you try what I told you? The 5 blades is the best.
I did. Well, my normal blade, I believe, is the 5 blade. Because after you told me that, I went and I looked at my blade. I believe I got a 5-blade razor. Okay. But the ones I bought, I believe, were only the Quattro.
Yes, which means cut your head in English.
To translate from Espanol to Inglés, yes, it means you're going to cut your head, you dumb mother. Yeah, anyway. So that's what happened. I don't think I told the story, but ladies and gentlemen, just real quick to bring you up to speed, I bumped into our friend Hollis here at a Fox 29 hit at Chickies and Pizza South Philly. And, oh, by the way, for the people listening, for the people on the podcast, that's not music in your background. That's music in Hollis's background. So our background. So anyway, I bumped into Chickies and Pete's, and I'm like, dude, I just cut the crap out of my head. And you're a fellow bald man, a member of the bald community. And I tell you the story that the movers accidentally packed my overnight bag, so I didn't have my good razor. I bought a razor from Target, and I'm telling you, man, it was a bloodbath. It was like I needed my wife to put a Band-Aid on the back of my head, and like she could barely do it. She was like, it was not a pretty sight. It was blood everywhere, man.
Hey, it was a giant Band-Aid too. It was not unnoticeable.
It was literally holding my head together, believe it or not.
The funniest part is I think you got one of those nude color ones, and actually you couldn't tell if you did. Actually, you could tell. I'm not gonna
You're a kind and decent man. You're a kind and decent man. Hollis, speaking of wounds that need to heal, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. That's a segue champion right there.
Yes, you are.
But before we get there, I just want to say this. The best night was the NFC Championship game. They win that game. I go out to Broad Street. I run into some people that you and I know. We have ourselves this great time. How did you at least embrace that party? That was the last party we got to enjoy as a citywide special there when they won the NFC Championship.
Well, I was as you know, I do the Ultimate Sports Preview, the Reality Check, and I did it in Wildwood at Mudhead Brewery, which was awesome. if you're not doing anything anytime, go get yourself a Hero Boy because it has a whisper of cinnamon. It's delicious and it'll cool you off, and it's a great way to stay in shape. But I came back at halftime. I was watching the game. I had the game playing, so I left at halftime from down there to come back here to join in the festivities. So as I get back, it's the fourth quarter. So I'm going over to enjoy one at my local water hole. I won't say which one, but as you know, they probably take their clothes off there. But that's a whole other story. So as I'm pulling into the parking lot, I noticed that there were an immense amount of police cars, and this is actually the place where when the parades and stuff go, and that people and anything that's happening around the city, in order to keep order, the police pretty much use that as a central location, which wasn't a problem to me because I knew there was going to be yahoos out and everything. But as I continued through the parking lot to pull around the other side, I saw two police tanks, and it had me actually rethink my whole night.
Police tanks for the NFC Championship game.
Yes, and as I pulled by him, I was like, "Well, they're not going to have to use them." But as I pulled by and it was about to get out of my car, I hear honking and I hear EAGLES, honk, 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 go Bird, and everybody's honking on. I was like, "Yeah, they're going to need those tanks way sooner than I think." So I quickly came, as some people know, I could see the Ben Franklin Bridge from my home, and where I live, we have a makeshift like little park outside, so I can see the fireworks and stuff and anything that they do. So I just came and parked in my parking spot and just chilled out there with some of the people from my condo building. It was tremendous and safe.
Very safe, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
By the way, once again, for the people on the podcast, Hollis, of course, has the lights going on in the background. He looks tremendous. He looks like $1 million damn. He's got the American flag sunglasses on. It's a beautiful sight every time I see him, my friend. And the music's just coming in at the perfect. I almost hit the post. Hollis, though, it's a problem here because I'm still licking my wounds. My wounds from this loss, and it really felt like, especially in that second half, whether you want to call it a master's class, whether you want to call it chess versus checkers,
right?
Jonathan Gannon and this defense looked like they just got outclassed. How'd you see it?
Well, I'm glad you led with that. Well, let me lead with this first. First, for the game, I feel like the NFL and the officiating crew not only the Chiefs fans and Eagles fans, not only the Eagles fans, but the Chiefs fans also an apology because they took what could have been one of the greatest games ever played, and they took it upon themselves to inject themselves into it and stop it. You hadn't been called in defensive holding the entire game. That was actually the only one. You missed about 30 or 40 calls in general throughout the game, and you take it upon yourself with a minute left to let your presence be felt. And it was the most gut-wrenching call ever. It wasn't even egregious. It wasn't. He said he held him, but there was no jersey pull. But I think
there was at least a handful of jersey. I'll say that there was at least a handful.
If you go back and look, it's about seven or eight other plays on both sides of the ball.
Fair enough.
The DBs on the play that we thought everybody was crucifying Quez Watkins on, that guy was there 30 seconds before that ball even came down. On the crossing route where he's all over his back before the ball even gets there.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a call, make them on both sides. You didn't even make that call. You didn't make the face mask call on the fumble.
Mm-hmm. See, this is it's real. Just on your point, though, Hollis, and this is what I don't think enough people understand. Now, my take on it was simple: that letter of the law, was it definition holding?
No.
Oh, you don't think so? Okay, so I think it was, but that wasn't the time to make the call.
No, but this is the thing too, and I had to explain this to a lot of people. When you play this game, you play your hardest at first to gauge what the way the officials are calling, and you try okay, so they're going to let us play as long as I don't drag him down, I don't spin him, I don't do it's not going to be called, and that's the way they call the game the entire night up until that point. So to the letter of the law, they're not calling the game to the letter of the law. How the hell are you going to call it now?
That's a great point.
That's it. And it was like you took it out of the player's hands. The other part is the other part, you have to step back as a fan. And look, I've been talking about this with Jonathan Gannon. I've talked about it with you all year long. He's not going to change. He said that himself. So all that Eric Bieniemy did was go back and look what we did against the Jacksonville Jaguars when we got that motion. And they exploited it. And they not exploited it once, they exploited it twice on two different plays. And the fact that I was happy to leave his ass in Arizona. I was like, this is where you choose to hold up here? Is that what you choose? Come on, man. And he didn't put our guys in any winning situation. A lot of people are like, our D-line didn't show up. Our D-line didn't show up because you lined them up stripe to stripe every play. You did not do a single thing that you did in the previous two games. As you didn't even create one-on-ones. You could have lined up 4 linemen and then brought Hassan Reddick in as a linebacker and lined him up on the edge. That's one-on-one. You didn't even do that. And then the coverage that you had, they were crummy. Mm-hmm. It was an all-out. It's just like our season ended last year, man. Our season ended last year on the opposing team, realizing Jonathan Gannon is not going to change. Last year, you remember what Brian Leftwich and Tom Brady said? We played them earlier this year. They're doing the exact same thing they did then, and they're doing it now. They don't change. That's who they are.
Mm-hmm. No, I do remember that. Yeah,
it's when you're not going to do anything creative defensively. You don't even have to be creative. Use the tools you got. Our defense was flourishing in spite of Jonathan Gannon, and it's the same. It's the same thing. It was the same thing. I'm glad his ass is gone. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm glad he's gone.
No, I'm with you, and it's because of the adjustment. And I think this is the game where it was most exposed on the global stage.
Last year the same way.
But in terms of a global stage, the Super Bowl, and then somehow magically he still gets a job by the people who own the building and now hired him to coach it full time. Go figure. But on that note, and I thought this was interesting because two things I want to cross reference with you here. The first thing is the field and the effect on the defensive line. I know every Eagle, and I give them credit. They were men about it. They just said, forget about the field. Both teams got to play on it. But if you're relying solely on a 4-man rush or maybe a 5-man rush, something tells me that that's going to affect the way the Eagles are playing defense a little bit more than it's going to affect the way the Chiefs are playing.
Well, because our coach didn't put us in quality. Basically, our defense took on the personality of our coach, of the defense coordinator. Passive aggressive. Like he was like he. I don't know if you've seen the Arizona thing. Buckle up, Arizona! It's going to be fun. So mundane and full of less life than I could even imagine. It's like I don't know. He doesn't motivate me to play. His scheme doesn't motivate me to play. It's like when you look at it, there was nothing to it. And sometimes you want to line up stripe to stripe and be somebody, but you have to know that when you're physically superior, more superior than the other team, there are going to be some wrinkles in there to catch you off guard so they can win, and you have to match that. You have to. It looked like that they didn't even go over that play. Those two plays on the goal line, and that was horrible. It was the biggest travesty that I've ever seen. They looked like the Keystone Cops. They didn't even look like pro players. The one thing I've been around some of the defensive players and stuff, and I wanted to ask the question so bad is, how the hell do you like this defense? Because it's like, as a defender, you want to attack. You don't want them to know everything that you're doing. It's like sometimes you want to line up and have them think you're going one way and you're going the other. It's like we were right, just like Byron Leftwich said. He was looking at the screen. Like, they're gonna be right where and tap the screen like they're right where they're doing the same thing they did last time. They didn't change anything.
Okay, so you don't give a damn about the field.
No.
Okay, I didn't. All right. Field. Okay, I didn't think. Okay, all right, just making sure. Now this. Go ahead.
No, because both teams, like you said, both teams had to play on it. So
fair enough.
It's like you had to, as a player, once you see the slipping and stuff, you have to do whatever you can do to get the best footing you possibly can. And if that's change your steps and stuff, it's a lot of things you can do. You can shorten your stance distance so you don't slip as much. You just got to be sure-footed.
Okay. This is the other thing I want to cross reference because your former teammate. What did you guys play 2 years together? Quentin Michael and you.
Cute. Oh, that's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he played like 3 or 4 years.
Okay. So Quinn Michael was telling me yesterday, and he was on yesterday's show, and he was talking about how the tutelage of Vic Fangio showed itself a little bit in this game, where the Eagles did a little bit. One thing they changed, and it was playing more man in the tight red zone situations. Right. And he said that was something that the Eagles kind of stepped out of their comfort zone in order to attempt to combat their opponent, but they just weren't ready for it. They almost stepped out of their comfort zone. Can you attest to that as well?
Well, yeah, it's like when you're trying to he's correct. It's like when you step out of your comfort zone and you don't practice it. It's kind of like when we watched them do a blitz. It's like they've never done it before, and they stepped out of their comfort zone. It's like there's nothing to it, and not only that, I don't think that he coaches communication, and Quentin will tell you when Jim Johnson was here, communication is the key. They look like they weren't talking to nobody. They didn't relay anything. You don't have everybody's talking about you. You're supposed to run stunts against the line that they had. You're supposed to run stunts against those yahoos. Especially if they're going to be double teaming your stuff and doing all that extra stuff. And then if you're going to run coverage, you need to cut up the run. We don't have enough guys up front to block to get every gap. And when you have the two high safeties and you have to cut up the run. You have to run stunts up front to cut up the run and get rid of some of the gaps to make it easier on the linebackers and the front seven. Excuse me. We did none of that. And we ran stunts against Pittsburgh Steelers. What happened in the Pittsburgh Steelers game? We annihilated them. We annihilated them, didn't we?
You got home. You got home.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with this guy is he's talking about he's not going to change. I don't know. I'm just glad he's gone.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not going to even bash him anymore. He sucks. I'm sorry.
No, hold on a second. Before we move on from him and talk about better things, did you see the footage of him meeting Kyler Murray?
No.
Oh, I'm going to treat you right now. Okay. The Arizona Cardinals on their TikTok account posted this video of Jonathan Gannon about to leave the facility before they tell him, hey, Kyler's working out if you want to meet him. Here's this.
He's in there? Now it's a done deal. Hey, good. Let's go. There you go. Let's go. We're ready. Let's go. We're ready to go the same for you. Yes, sir. And go the same for you, man. Let's go. Let's go win. Got it? I got you.
Now that's intensity. That's a guy that's going to go get it right there, my friend.
Yeah. Man. I think Kyler Murray just is happy to see somebody new.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's moving on. But he was as a defense coordinator to me. He was inept, and I don't know if he's gonna be a good head coach. But I know he wasn't a good defense coordinator.
Okay.
He was an okay one. He was not even adequate. What he did, everybody would tear that apart. And you will only go so far with that. Now with a proper talent like he had, we can go to the Super Bowl, but you're not going to win when you get there because things like this will continue to rear its ugly head. Our season ended last year because of his ineptitude to put a quality defense out there and play chess and not checkers. I don't even think he was playing dice. I think he was out there playing jacks. But it was bad to me. And I was like, I felt sorry for the defense because you have to, as a team player, you have to do what you have to learn. You kind of like when you're a little kid and your mom brings out Brussels sprouts and stuff. You're like, I don't want to eat that. It's like you'll eat what's put before you and learn to die with dignity. So
you have met my mother. You have met my mother. So let me ask you. So to replace him, are you a Lovie Smith guy? Are you a Tracy Rocker guy? Are you a Denard Wilson guy? Who do you like replacing him as defensive coordinator, other than yourself, of course?
I don't want to do that. I would need some time to figure things out. I know what to call and stuff, but I wouldn't want to just jump right into it. I would like to have to shadow somebody first, but I know what to call and I know how to dissect people, and that's when you're a defense coordinator is and then shadowing some of them in the past. The one thing you have to be is confident and you're not scared. He struck me as scared. On my wish list is I heard they were talking to Van Joseph too. Vance Joseph too.
Yeah.
So between him and Lovie Smith, I would love one of those guys. Tracy Rocker? What Tracy Rocker? Who's he with?
Well, he's with the Eagles. He's with the Eagles. He was their D-line coach. So it's
yeah, that's my okay. When you call him Tracy Rock, I was like, no, Rock. I like Rock. I do like Rock. I think he would attack more.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would attack more. But I think what this defense truly needs is somebody like Lovie Smith to add some stability. And it's like because Lovie Smith, he's going to attack, but he's not going to put us in the barn. It's like he's going to attack. He's going to keep the points low, and he's going to keep him off the board. And if you add him and he wants to be here, if you give it to Lovie Smith, if you interview Lovie Smith, and he say he wants the job, you give it to him.
Okay,
that's a point. Hey, dude, I've been around Lovie. He's like one of the better defensive minds, and we can get that kid out of University of Illinois.
Okay, let's party. Let's party right there. Let's talk about something that is also
quarterback. That is
lighter note. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. I mean, I can't remember a guy in just his second year as a starter taking this amount of a leap in any sport that Jalen Hurts took in this year that we just watched. Absolutely incredible.
Let me take a sip of my victory juice. Because everybody, what did I tell everybody?
You told him he was going to be the man. You told him he was going to be the man.
Who's been singing? And he's done none less than become stellar. Way faster than I anticipated. And I commend him. That's one of the best. And that was the other thing too of why I feel like they owe the fans in general an apology, because they bitched him on about Josh Allen not having. He ran out of time, and his team did not help him. We got stopped by the damn referees, the officials who's supposed to be seen and not heard. You were not heard the entire damn game, and you want to exact and put your fingerprints on the game like that. It was the biggest travesty. I'm not going to Michael Barkan it up. It was the biggest travesty known to man, though. I'm like, come on, dude. I was like, and that's the main reason why people think that your game is rigged. And then you got Roger Goodell out there hugging on Chris Jones, talking about, I don't care where you're the quarterback at, and then hug. I was like, you're the commissioner of the NFL. Get your ass out of there. What the hell is wrong with you? You're supposed to be congenial. And the thing and that's the other part that makes this all look fixed.
Yeah, you know what?
Do I blame the conspiracy theorists? No, because you're giving them all the ammunition they need.
Right.
I was like, that was the worst call known to man right there. Mm-hmm. You let the call be made. You won't do anything. And then what about? Hold on. I don't even know if you paid attention to this. So we snapped the ball, and then they stopped the play inexplicably because they forgot to let the Chiefs substitute. I don't know if you can believe this out. How the f is that and then on top of that, you allow this goofy bastard to challenge the play. Mm-hmm. Really? But have you ever seen that happen?
And they still got it wrong, by the way.
I know, but have you ever seen that happen, though?
I have never seen that happen. Never seen that happen.
Hence why I say conspiracy theorists have a point.
So here's what I'll say about that, just while we're on the subject, because I've seen all the videos and stuff about and Arian Foster and the whole thing. It's like, I don't believe that the NFL is scripted. I do think that there is some. Let's face it. What's their job? To make more money. Right. So how are they going to position themselves to make more money? Well, you keep guys on the edge of their seats. They make sure franchises like the Chiefs are doing well. And if sometimes it doesn't even matter who wins the game at the end, especially the Super Bowl, as long as I kept you watching till the last second or the last minute, then I've made more money.
Yeah, but the thing what that was, you would have made more money had that call not been made. And do you know how epic the next game between the Chiefs and the Eagles would be had they let that last drive go?
That's true.
Had they just kept their fat black and white striped noses out of the business of the players? It's like, do you know how on the edge of the seat everybody would have been?
Pretty much. You're right.
Everybody feels cheated now. Everybody was talking about Josh Allen. I don't know why anybody standing up for this. That was the Josh Allen one. They need to shut the hell up about that one. He just lost.
Mm-hmm. I'm with it.
This one was truly taken away. And everybody's gonna say, well, you had your other opportunities. but you're in the Super Bowl. You play the best is playing against the best.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't happen. So
yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, as far as the penalty goes with Bradbury, here's what I think. You're right, and that's what not a lot of people take into account. It's like yes, you talk about letter of the law. The letter of the law goes out the window when you start making calls in the first quarter. Yeah. And that sets the tempo and sets the expectation for the rest of the game. Is the way, as a player, you're the one that can tell me this because you're the player. Exactly. This is what you know you could get away with.
Yeah, and that's much you can get away with. It's how they're going to allow you to play. Right. It's like and I say sometimes they say let you get away with. It's like he's not going to warn you. He's just going to flag you. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do that throughout the entire game. Gotcha. And it's just like everybody keeps talking about the letter of the law. What law is it? They trust it. They trust the official's judgment. This ain't tennis. Mm-hmm. This not even tennis. This ain't ice skating. This ain't figure skating. This is not a floor exercise in gymnastics either.
All right, just a couple of guys' names I want to run at you. Okay, if they're going to be back, I want to start on the defensive line. Okay, Fletcher Cox.
Probably not. I did hear he wanted to play for Big Red one his last year.
Oh wow! All right,
I did hear about that, but I don't. But I think he's kind of pricey. So
yeah, okay. All right, let's go another. Brandon Graham.
He will be back.
All right. Okay, that makes me happy. All right, let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. Get off the line of scrimmage. Let's go to the secondary. CD Deuce, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Number one priority.
You and I are on the same page.
Yeah, my priorities are this. Him, Hargrave, and then him, Hargrave, and you might have to let you're gonna have to let either Kazir White or TJ Edwards go because I want Nakobe Dean playing. Okay, you and I and TJ Edwards is the odd man out because him and Nakobe played the same position. So, and TJ he should go and get paid. Okay, I personally think TJ is going to end up in Arizona. So, okay.
Yeah, of course.
So and he's a smart kid. I think he'll. It's like, once he got the defense down, it took him a second to catch up.
Is that Take on Me now in the background?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm a little kid, probably 7 years old, maybe 6. MTV is on. That's right, mommy and daddy. But they don't know that it won't hurt them. And this video comes on, man. Captivating for all the kids. When this show's done, for all the kids, go to YouTube, type up "Take on Me." Is that it? Is that on the? Yeah, sorry. Okay, falsetto. Sorry, Miss Scuzzi. All right, so yeah. Let's flip it on the offensive side of the ball. Okay. On one name I'm going to give you. Just one. That's all I'm going to do. Just one name. Okay. Jason Kelce, is he back?
Given the way that he stood out there and looked at the confetti and stuff, it can be looked at as two ways. It can be looked at as his last hurrah, or just watching his brother receive his flowers. But I think he's going to come back because I think he's coming back for Jalen Hurts because I think he wants to win one with this kid, and if they win one and go out on top, I think he wants to go out on top. That's why the main reason I think he comes back. The one person I don't know if he's going to be able to sign, and I'll be kicking myself in the nuts if I said this 2 years ago. Sayamalu, he actually became a true player this year. He became a beast this year, it's just in watching. I was noticing that Jalen Hurts would have guys at his feet, and I think, and then somebody said this to me. My trainer Andrew Hurts, he said if you watch the way the guys play when Jalen's in there, they play for Jalen because they love him as a leader and a leader of men. It's like I guess he inspires guys. Even when you watch Miles Sanders, when Miles Sanders played versus when Gardner Minshew was in there, it was night and day. So,
gotcha. I gotcha.
I would love to have him back, but I think somebody's going to offer him the kitchen sink because he turned into a pretty good guard.
He absolutely has. I give him all the credit in the world for that. Hollis Thomas, it's always great catching up with you. You can listen to my man on the 4th and John podcast. You can listen to my man at 98.7 The Coast FM on Wildwood Radio. Make sure you guys are doing that.
That's in Wildwood.
In Wildwood, of course.
On the coast, it's like you go to Wildwood, don't you?
Of course. What am I not the red-blooded Philadelphian?
Well, yeah, but you know that you can't really get any of our stations up there.
That is true.
So this is actually
true.
it's why the Coast is a radio station inside Wildwood. They play some great. It's a music station too. It's great.
Well, do you sing? Do you do your thing there? What do you do?
No, they just carve out a couple hours to talk sports, and I actually I don't sugarcoat anything. I give the people what they want. I give them the uncut truth without all the cuss words. You know, it's like sometimes when we go on there, we have these times where we're talking about people. It's kind of like somebody sent me an article about an author talking about the Philly fans. He was a former New York writer talking bad about them, and I was like, everybody wants to talk about the baddest bitch when they're looking to get some press. And I was like, let him stay trying to be an author and trying to sell books.
Gotcha.
I was like, you know nothing about Philly. You're not even from here. So if you ain't from Philly, stop talking about Philly.
You speak nothing but brilliance. You really do. You speak nothing but brilliance.
Don't you get sick of sometimes with people who aren't from here or who don't live here? Talk all that extracurricular crap about how they feel that we are. How they perceive us.
Yes.
It's kind of like watching, what's the kid's name who was talking that crap? The Mad Dog today was talking crap about the Eagles. I was like, who gave you the name the Mad Dog? And have you ever laced anything up other than a jacket coat? I mean, come on.
Wait, so you're talking about Chris Russo at ESPN?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I digress. Sorry about that, though.
No worries. No worries.
It's close to dinner time.
All right, so football season's over. What are we doing now? What are you doing for funsies?
Pitchers and catchers show up pretty soon, don't they?
You're a man for all seasons. I love it. Hollis, always great catching up with you. Thank you for your great advice so I don't cut my head open again. I think I did it. Did I do it? I don't know if I did it. It just stopped. I don't know. Hey, everybody. That's my friend Hollis Thomas. Thanks, Hollis, for joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Let me tell you about the people at Manscaped. And you know what? You don't have to worry about any, nicks or cuts or anything like that because they got skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, scrapes at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy at manscaped.com where you get 20% off and free shipping. You'll enjoy. Oh my goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen! And it comes to their Platinum Package 4.0, which is their best hygiene bundle yet. It includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer as well as their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And yes, skin safe technology. Go to manscaped.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. How about people at Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. If you like CBD, you use CBD, check out Freestone Farms CBD and use promo code Farzy for 20% off. Freestone Farms is where it's at when it comes to all your CBD needs. You'll enjoy the tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1% in Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Generics of these guys are off the charts. So check them out. Freestone Farms CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com, promo code Farzy for 20% off. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Chat check, no PJ today, which means I cannot do this. April, good morning. How are you? A disco tank? Possibly. Kevin, what's up, Kevin? Nice to see you. T-Bro, tank. Fuji, what's up there, Fuji? Good morning, Mark, and good morning, folks. Happy Thursday. Oh, Thursdays. Thursdays are nice. I enjoy a Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Sign CD Deuce ASAP. I'm with you. T-Bro, I'm with you. Fuji, Sixers team is missing something. I concur. Everyone's saying good morning. Everyone friendly in the chat. Mihai Sanchez. What's going on there, Mihai? Sixers are our only hope. Not waiting until Red October 2023 for the next chance at a championship. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not confident, Mihai. I agree with you. They're our only hope right now. Also, Mihai saying, I prefer an experienced defensive coordinator in Lovie Smith. I don't really want a promotion from within. For offensive coordinator, I'm fine with Brian Johnson. Our offense is slightly better than our defense. I'll say this. They're slightly, I think, more equipped, because, especially when it comes to the coaching staff, simply because it's still Nick Sirianni's offense. Shane Steichen might have been the play caller, but it's all about game plan and installation, and all that came down to your head coach, and that's Nick Sirianni. We need an experience, DC, says Sean Gillespie. Good morning, Sean. The Super Bowl proved that. You know what the Super Bowl proved, Sean? And I know people get on my man Seth Joyner a lot, and I got to get Seth on the show. But in every game, whether it's week 1 or week 18, throughout the season, Seth is saying it's not about the opponent. It's about how good you are. Now, what does that mean? That means it doesn't matter if you beat the Steelers, like Hollis was just talking about. It doesn't matter if you get after Carson Wentz 9 times in a game. That's a great game. Good job. But it's not about just winning that game. It's about how you fare in that game, how you played in that game, your style of play in that game, and how that would match up against the upper echelon teams. The Eagles, for instance, just played the best team in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs. They did a lot of the same things that they did in that Steelers game. They did a lot of the same things that they did in that game against the Commanders with Carson Wentz, defensively speaking. But it's a matter of making the right adjustments at the right time. And what happens when you don't get home with just your 4-man front or your 5-man pass rush? What happens when you don't? What else are you going to dial up? Are you going to send a 6th rusher? How are you going to go after the quarterback? How are you going to get creative? How are you going to keep the offense guessing? So it's not just about beating the Steelers, Commanders, the Lions, whoever it might be. And that's a terrible defensive example, but just to use another team the Eagles beat during the regular season, it's not about just beating them in week 1, week 5, week 10. It's about how you play in that game, the strategy you use in that game, and how that would fare against a better opponent. Can you get away with the same things? And no. Seth's always, and I think any good analyst worth their salt, it's not just about beating the team that's in front of you. It's how you played. And if you take it away from that particular game, if you take your style and how you played in that particular game and applied it to another game against a better opponent, you still going to win that game? Oftentimes the answer is no. If you make a lot of mistakes, for instance, the answer is going to be no. Fuji, hello again. Sean Gillespie. I don't really stand the poaching our defensive coordinator, especially after the Super Bowl, and yet Bieniemy, no one wants. That Eric Bieniemy story is bonkers. 2 championships now, 3 Super Bowls that he's been to. And an offensive coordinator. And under Andy Reid, you know, guys meet Bill Belichick and they get hired. Andy Reid is one of the all-time winningest coaches. He's got now has what has been in 4 Super Bowls now, including this one with the Eagles. And man under him can't get a gig. Doug Peterson got a gig. The only thing I'll say with Doug Peterson, it was a perfect storm. Doug Peterson was obviously a quarterback here in Philadelphia, was a coach already here in Philadelphia. Eric Bieniemy played here in Philadelphia briefly under Big Red. Anyway, April, what's going on? Get little touch. She can push buttons. She absolutely can. Sean Gillespie, Quattro used to shave your head? Ooh, yeah, no bueno. No bueno. April, they missed face mask calls for sure. I agree. The holding call on Bradbury, there was a hands to the face on, I think Josh Sweat got his helmet tugged at. April, you saw that too, right? They really like this being descriptive on TikTok. You know we can see it, right? Anyway, it's T-Bro. What's up, T-Bro? Tank, thank you. CD, number 1 priority. Absolutely. 1,000% agree, T-Bro. April, you like the singing, did you? Thank you. Afro Cloud? What's up, Afro Cloud? That's a great name. Welcome to the chat. Nice to see you. This is why this show's been. Oh, that's a very nice take on me, Sean Gillespie. That is a great song. Oh, I can't. Sailing away. Anyway. Wait, what's the, hold on a second. I looked up the lyrics just because I don't think I ever looked up the lyrics before. Yeah, shying away. Sorry. Shying away. Oh, God. Oh, the things that you say. Oh, gets me. It gets me. Next chat check show, live show. We should do a karaoke. Take on me. Let's do it. T-Bro, I'm down. Afro Cloud. It's just fun to say. I hope they sign immediately CD Deuce after they give Hurts his contract. Yeah. AfroCloud. Bieniemy should have been a head coach way before Gannon. Bieniemy is way better candidate for head coach than Gannon. 1,000,000,000% agree. April, such a great song. It is a great song. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are great. As per usual, we got the NBA All-Star break. So now let's see. We got hockey, we got spring training, and we still have to heal our wounds with the Eagles. So all that and more. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. You guys are fantastic as per usual. I'm hoping Jim is back with us on Monday. It'll just be me pushing buttons again tomorrow. But until then, have a great rest of your day. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See ya.